Okay, so before we get into this video, I just need to apologise for the length between this video and the last one. Unfortunately, real life has just been getting in the way, and for the past week I've just had to deal with a very needy girlfriend. But anyway, focusing on this video at hand, after my shocking performance last week, I, at the shock of none, have gone down to bronze. So this time round we're going to be trying everything in our power to get out. Great intro. So we start off in Saudi Arabia from P4 on the grid. Pretty average start, but this time round, because we're in bronze, we're going to be a bit more aggressive. Heading down towards turn number 1, up the inside. We get bumped to the outside for turn number 2. Spin a little bit on the curves, but there's carnage ahead of us. P1 is out. We're getting battered. We've broken our wing on the left hand side. We're side by side with a Red Bull. Another car just dive bombs him. We're off track, and it's just... I mean, it's typical Bronze League driving styles here. We've got a broken wing on lap 1. Still currently P6, surprisingly. We didn't actually spin the car around fully. It's just a complete mess, really. Despite having a broken wing, we're still going to make up some positions on our now in lap. There's two cars going off track. The one that dive bombed me and another car. I think his name is Toxic, which is incredibly appropriate, but nevertheless we're back up in the P4. And at the end of lap number 1, we're going to pull into the pit. We're going to be very cautious on pit entry, just so we don't speed into the pit and get ourselves a penalty. We're going to put on the medium tyres, go to the end, and we're going to try and undercut everyone. And because of the absolute carnage that happened on lap number 1, with basically everyone being involved, we're actually going to come out of the pit, only losing one position, and in P5. Now Saudi Arabia is a very hit or miss track for most people, and luckily for me, I really enjoy it. I'm going to be enjoying it even more now because someone ahead of me has absolutely binned it, and we go up into P4. Now, as someone that really enjoys this track, I also have the ability to tell when someone really doesn't enjoy it. And this guy ahead of me, Zeus, he definitely doesn't enjoy it, and so much so that he even tries to take me out and fails spectacularly. So coming to the end of lap number 3, we now come on to lap number 4. We set the fast lap of the race, and we're currently P3, but we're yet to actually make a legitimate overtake. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a podium position. We're 23 seconds behind P1, who hasn't pit yet, and 3.5 seconds, now 2.2 seconds behind P2, as we set another fast lap of the race. At the end of lap number 5, P1 comes into the pit, and given the undercut we've had, we're easily going to get out in front of him, and we're directly behind Carter for P1. He was someone else that got caught up in the melee on lap number 1, so he's got the same tyre life as me, but we've just got a superior pace. Because of the nature of this track and the lengths of the straights and the DRS just being overpowered as hell on this track, we're easily going to be staying behind him through this section, and all we have to do is keep the pressure on him, wait for him to make a mistake, and you know, if we get close enough to him, we'll be overtaking him easily into turn 1. I've closed up 4 attempts to him in one DRS section. We're directly behind him now. He'll definitely be feeling the pressure. All I have to do really is just wait for the DRS to do the job for me. I don't even really need to try and make an overtake. With DRS I could easily cruise past him, so as we come down to the final corner, I actually do the Verstappen technique, hold off and get the DRS for the main straight, because let's face it, DRS is a lot stronger than slipstream on this game. And as we come out the final corner, getting DRS open, you can see Carter knows this. He's weaving from left to right, back to the left. We're going to go to the outside for turn number 1, and even before the braking zone, we're comfortably into P1 and leading this race somehow. It is going to be a bit more challenging. Now we're going to have to defend from DRS because see Carter's coming back at us through this very tight left-hander, and there's no room for him. He unfortunately has to back out, and I think he hit the back of me because coming through sector 1, he massively drops off me, and that's my worries of being under threat absolutely gone because of Carter's interesting move he tried to make. And because of that damage on Carter's car, he pulled into the pit at the end, and yeah, that was my race. I just led. I had a 7-second gap over now P2. It was pretty relaxed, really. Yeah, first race back in bronze. We're gonna absolutely fucking dominate them. The following race takes place in Mexico. You join me in qualifying, and you'll notice it's in the F2 cars. My qualifying goes spectacularly as I invalidate my run, and we'll be starting from last place. Now, one thing you need to know before going into this race, I have no fucking idea how to drive these F2 cars. So with that in mind, it's lights out and away we go. at Mexico in the heavy rain, and it's actually been a decent start, to be fair. There's a little bit of wheel spin, but we get up into the slipstream of Peter down towards turn number 1, go straight up into P7, so far it's been pretty good. However, turn 1 is quite terrifying. Thankfully there's ghosts on lap number 1, there's no contacts or collisions, so it's probably for the best. There's a lot of cars currently inside me, and I can only imagine the hell I would have gone through. I imagine it would have looked something like that. I've spun on the exit at turn number 3. We're facing the DRS board, and there goes the good progress I made off the line. If you're expecting a good driving quality this race after the race you saw in Saudi Arabia, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed, because I absolutely despise these F2 cars, and it looks like most people do. There's another Red Bull liveried car going wide through the stadium section, and we're basically inside him through the penultimate corner. And these final 2 corners especially would be quite difficult for me. You can see I've gone for a half spin there, managed to catch the car. That definitely won't be the final time you see me drifting through the final corner. Annoyingly though, if you exclude the final corner, I was actually relatively quick through this race. I'm currently behind someone whose name I'm not even going to try and say, because I don't even know where to start with that. But we're hassling him through turn number 6, trying to look to the outside, but there's not really anywhere we can go. I'm very clearly quicker than him. We're going to get decent exit out of turn number 6, up the inside of turn number 7. Admittedly, a little aggressive. We kind of slam into the side of him, and he hits us back, which is entirely justified. I can't fault him there. Just a little bit of desperation coming out, even though it is for P10. It's probably the most aggressive fight for P10 you will ever see, and I run wide of that corner there. You'll see that a lot this race. In the braking zone of turn number 7, I purposely started braking early for most of the corners, and luckily the interesting named guy doesn't brake early, and we go up into P10. Once we got past him, we can see an interesting battle through the final corner between P9 and P8. Unfortunately, I won't be a part of that battle for a while, because I spin for the final corner. I don't know what it was, but that I literally could not get a grip through that final corner, no matter how hard I tried. And as we come through the stadium section for the 3rd time, we're behind Hockey and our favourite driver this race. We have a look up the inside of the stadium section, but it's not really an overtaken move. We try and look to the outside, but we have to go off track, and we're going to stay P11 once more. However, 3rd time lucky through the final corner, and I'm not going to spin. I have a little bit of a moment with the wheel, but we stay facing the right way for once. Coming through turns 3 and 4, we are on the back of Hockey and the Red Bull liveried car. We're just going to call them that. Down the 2nd straight, we're in the slipstream of Hockey, and it looks like these two could come together, so I'm just sort of waiting to see what happens at this corner, and yep, they do come together. Hockey tags the inside of the Red Bull car. The Red Bull car goes wide, we're going to go round the outside of him, and then the Red Bull car tags the back of the Alpine liveried car, and we're going to be promoted into 9th place. Nice and easy move for us, and I look forward to losing these 2 positions at the final corner. Coming through the S section, we see Jack off in the distance, and he's not having the best of times. He's gone for a spin, and we go up into 8th place. And at the end of lap number 5, you join me at the final corner, which can only mean one thing. You can see I'm already struggling quite spectacularly through the final corner. We go for a drift, manage to keep it in a straight line somewhat. We lose every bit of momentum we possibly had, and you can see Hockey is right on the back of us in our slipstream down the main straight. We're not going to defend because it looks like it's going to be an easy move for him. He goes to the inside. We're going to try and outbrake him around the first corner. Very cautious on the brakes, but we do manage to hold on to P8. The problem was though, we next had to face turn 3, which is another corner I've been really struggling for traction. As you can see, as I almost drop it immediately, and Hockey is going to be trying around our outside into turn 4. Hopefully we can get him under the brakes once again. We've got the inside line. He brakes late, runs wide, and thankfully we're going to defend P8. I'm fully aware this so-called defending is mainly due to other people's incompetence rather than my ability to defend. A point that is demonstrated absolutely perfectly at turn number 12 as we brake early. Hockey absolutely sends it up our inside because we just don't defend against him. But then coming into turn 13, I actually lock the rears of my car, which manages to send me up the inside of him through the stadium section, and we actually have an incredible overtake on him. that was completely unintentional. One thing that could ruin that absolute brilliant moment of brilliance is if I bottle it at the final corner, but on this occasion I managed to keep it in a straight line. Over the next couple of laps we actually managed to find some consistency and actually managed to drop Hockey. We're now 2.5 seconds ahead of him and we find ourselves behind a ghost car through the final corner. The ghost car does have a 12-second penalty somehow, which is probably for the best because I'm going to need that 12-second advantage over him because I've binned it into the wall at the final corner. And here comes Hockey. So we're heading down into the stadium section for the final time. We're on the last lap, directly behind Hockey. And I hate to break it to you, but it's going to be an incredibly underwhelming finish. We're on the back of Hockey, he's got a penalty, so I don't really need to overtake him. I would love to overtake him, given the battle we've had, just to add to that ego advantage. But you can see there's not really an overtaking opportunity. Let's face it, I'm probably going to bottle it for the final corner anyway. It's just going to be a matter of do we actually manage to get the traction and keep the car in a straight line. Despite my lack of trying, I do, and we actually narrowly beat Chris, who came out of absolutely nowhere and almost took P7 from us. We obviously get Hockey on penalties. I'm really trying to big up this P7. To me it felt impressive given how shit of a race I had.